In this module, we'll talk about usage and quotas that apply for a Maps Engine account. In Maps Engine, we charge you based on the amount of storage that you use for you to upload and store your data, and also based on the number of map loads which happens every time a user or a viewer decides to view a map. For map loads, we further break it down into public and private, and we'll define what each of them means. For storage, we calculate based on the amount of data that is uploaded versus the total storage purchased. Once you upload your data, it gets processed and it gets converted into a raw format. However, we only charge you based on the size of the data set that you uploaded, not based on the size of the raw format that it gets converted to during the processing. As a best practice, it's always a good idea to compress your data before you upload it to make the best use of the storage. The information about the map load consumption and the storage use is always available within the Maps Engine console over at the bottom left on the dashboard section as shown on this slide. And so at any time you'll be able to go into the console and take a look at how many map loads are left and the amount of storage that you still have after you've uploaded your data sets. You can take a look again on the dashboard page at the bottom section right here, which gives you a breakdown per map and the number of private and public map loads for that particular map. Now let's define what kind of events constitute a map load. So every time a user views a map, we charge one map load. Remember, every layer that gets added to a map will be displayed on top of the base map, and we charge one map load for the base map itself. Further, for every layer that a user views or makes visible, we charge one map load for that layer. If you choose the WMS endpoint to retrieve the map, we charge one map load per WMS request. And if you prefer to use the Maps API to access the layers available from a published map, we charge you one map load per layer that is accessed. So one map data layer defines access to one layer within the map. So if you define multiple map data layer objects, we charge you one map load per map data layer object. Just to get a complete understanding of the big picture, let's take a look at these two examples. Example number one, let's say you load a map which has 4 layers that are made invisible by default, but they are not locked. So in other words, each layer appears individually and you're able to set the visibility on each layer. Let's say you load the map and you turn on 2 of the 4 layers. In other words, you make them visible. So the calculation will take into account these 2 layers that have been made visible plus one more map load for the base map itself. And so that is a total charge of 3 map loads. Any additional layer that is made visible after this will be counted as one additional map load. However, once you've made a map layer visible, setting it to invisible and back to visible does not consume additional map loads. Second example, let's say you're using the Maps API to access the layer programmatically. For every map data layer object that you create, it will define a particular map and a particular layer within the map to retrieve. So we charge one map load per map data layer object. And so if you created 3 objects to render 3 map engine layers, that's a total of 3 map loads. Also, you need to make sure that you take into account one more map load as it is going to be displayed on top of the base map tiles. So it's a total of 4 map loads in this example. Now that we've defined what constitutes a map load, let's distinguish between a private and a public map load. When you create a map, you have the option of sharing it with an access list. Now the access list could be a private access list. So what that means is it comprises of number of apps account users or groups, or it could be a public access list which is open to public. If you share the map with a public access list, every time the map is viewed, we charge you map loads accordingly, and this will appear as public map loads. Every time a user accesses a map that has been shared with a private access list, we count it as a private map load. Also, do take into account that every time you display a map or look at a preview of a map within the Maps Engine console, that also is considered as a private map loads and will be counted against your total map load quota. What to do when you reach your quota? Now, if you've exceeded your map load quota, Maps Engine is going to stop serving the map, so any user will not be able to load any map beyond this point. If you've hit your storage quota, whatever has been uploaded and processed will remain within your account. However, you will not be able to upload any additional datasets. The next step will be to get in touch with a Google sales representative and purchase additional quota so that you can upload additional datasets.